So it damaged me and it broke me. That's why I was trying to explain that the kind of tears and that I've dropped
in this life.
Yes, I cry to bed. I wake up crying. I'm eating and I'm crying. I'm sleeping, I'm crying. I'm bathing, I'm crying. I constantly cry. So my experience, in fact, I've been arrested before. Yes, I had friends that they were influential and their brothers. So I was quite close to them and all of that. So he offended me. I can't remember what he did. I can't remember what he did exactly. But I knew that I was offended and I knew that my anger was justified. So I was angry and I was typing and I cursed him. I said, no, it will not be well with you. You will not be okay. Or is it because you think you have money, you can do this to me? I wrote it and I sent it. And this guy, I was in school, I was in my room and I heard a very loud knock on the door. Boom, 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 boom. Not normal policemen, no. I don't know what is their, is it DSS or SSS or I don't know. They came with a Hilux.
Wow.
Yes.
So
about, yes, 5 of them.
How old were you?
Maybe 20 or 19. They came and then they bundled me into their Hilux and drove off. This is somebody that we're very close, like my friend, my paddy, my guy, because of that message I sent. So he called them, they bundled me and then they put me into their Hilux and took me to the station.
Yeah.
And yeah, they didn't put me in the cell. We were somewhere around the counter and then they sat me down and they were like, what's the problem? And then I explained to them and then I showed them the text message. Even them, they were shocked there. This is the I've never been traumatized in my life before.
Wow.
Like, I was so scared. Like, I was talking, I was shivering and I was shaking. So they now asked me, what's the problem? I explained to them and they were like, okay, this matter no reach now for him to say we should detain you for as long as until he decides. So I called my friends, they came over, they started calling him, calling them, they were begging that they should please let me go, they should release me. He said, no, I'm going to suffer. How can I insult him? How can I do that? Blah, blah, blah. And after a few hours, they released and they said, okay, we could go, but first I should write an apology message to him. And then I did.
Wow.
I wrote the apology message to him and then we left. For 3 months, I was traumatized. I couldn't get over it. And when I look left, there's a problem. When I look right, there's a problem. I turn my back. Every area of my life, loads of problems around. Everywhere. I had no minute of peace. You see me peaceful, maybe I'm sleeping. I suffered insomnia, I had PCOS, my serious migraine. I was not okay. And it got to a point where I was so in pain emotionally that I knew that if something does not happen fast, I was going to run mad. I was this close. I was this close. There were days where I would just sit and I would scream in tears. Like I would scream, I would groan in anger from my belly. I would scream. And people would just come and hold me. I would just scream. It happens like later I started having palpitation. Later I started using an inhaler. Wow. Asthma signs started coming up because I was always crying. I was always crying. And you just see me, I'll just sit. We were in a lecture hall and I was between my mates and then the lecturer was lecturing and I just screamed. You know, they say when somebody, a screaming that is groaning. I screamed and everybody, what's happening? What's happening? And that's how they gathered me and then they took me out of the lecture hall. And I was just screaming, I just want to die. I was just screaming, I just want to die. They said, no, you will not die. And then they took me to my lodge. Then I came back home, called my roommate, my friend. She came to the house and I was quiet. I stopped crying. In the evening, I just sat again and my breathing went up. From normal, it went up. That you could be in the next block. You're hearing me breathe. So I was screaming and breathing so hard. She looked for the inhaler, brought it up and called my brother. He started praying. Even until 3 months ago, it happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're
Sometimes,
whistling.
yes. Sometimes I will just maybe think of everything that has happened. There are so much that I've not even said. Yeah, that some I can't even remember. A lot of experiences. So it will just come to my head sometimes, and then I'll start having serious migraine. My head will just be banging. And then I'll just cry and I'll say, God, help me. But my life became better when you came into the picture. My life became better when Moses came into the picture. You know, he came and he brought light. He brought life.
Praise
He
God.
brought grace. He brought peace to
Praise
me.
God.
You know, when I was finding it difficult to love him because he wasn't bringing
Trouble.
trauma and trouble to me, I begged God. I said, you know, how we met was even a miracle. And then I told God, I said, I know that you brought this man to me as my husband. I'm tired of feeling like I don't deserve him. Please teach me to love him. Wow. Help me to love this man.
Wow.
And boom,
Wow.
I started to love him.
Wow.
Genuinely. And now my prayer points changed. I said, please help me to keep honoring him, to keep loving him. Don't let me make mistakes at any point. Every bad vibe should go. He keeps praying for me every day. And I asked him, do you see the result of your prayer and this church we are going to? He said, yes, he's seen the results. I'm like, wow, okay. Even though sometimes deliberately, not just by prayer, sometimes deliberately I will intentionally not want to get pissed.
Yeah.
I can get pissed, but I'll choose not to take actions.
Yeah.
My phone suffers it a lot. When I'm angry, I'll just take my phone and then I smash it to the wall.
Wow.
Yeah, because my anger always wants to speak. I always want you to know that you did something.
Yeah.
So when the popular bimbo died, she burnt herself in the house and it caught fire.
Which bimbo?
There's IVD and bimbo story. Yeah,
Okay.
she was married to IVD, and then she got angry. They were having issues and she poured kerosene in the house and the whole place exploded. She died inside.
Wow.
Yeah. So when people are wondering, how can she do that? In my mind, I say, me, I can do it.
Wow.
Yeah. So I said, me before, I would do it. So I could relate to what happened to the woman. So people will say it's a mistake. I said, no, it's not a mistake. The that anger comes with both trauma, pain, your experiences, everything, and you just want
Mixed
to,
together.
yes, mix together. You can't explain. It's there. There's no English you want to use. You can't explain the kind of pain.
What do you mean by is there?
You know, not now anymore. Yeah.
Okay.
Not now. It's, you know, I was telling him, I said, I can feel the pain fading away gradually. It's not easy.
Melting out.
Yeah, I told him, I said, please, you need to give me little more time. It's going to work. When you started from functionality to dysfunctionality, and when you were talking about...
And my book is coming out next week on that.
I can't wait to have it.
I can't wait.
So when you were teaching and you were talking about you need to forgive, you need to do this, you were so heavy. I was crying, I was screaming, and that breathing stuff started, and then he held me so much.
Wow.
In fact, people that were sitting behind me, they helped, because we were at the front.
Church.
Yes, people were holding me from the back, touching me, calming me down. I was screaming in pain. That's the first time that I was ready to plate the issue before God, everything. And then I didn't know I had so much problems until you were talking about it. That was when I knew that the thing had eaten me even more than I had realized.
Wow.
Yes. So I was crying in so much pain. And then when you said people should come out, I didn't want to come out. He said, let's go, let's go. I said, no, I don't want to come out. He said, let's go. Then I got up and we came out. You said we should pray. I could not pray. The pain was so much that I couldn't speak. Every single person I've ever trusted had brought me pain. Whether I caused it or not, they had caused me pain. So for my experiences with both individuals, it's so much pain. All I know in my life is just pain, until he now came to the picture.
Wow.
Yeah. And then you came into the picture too. So when you came into the picture and you were speaking, I was like, oh God, this man was made for me. I don't care about other people, but he was made for me. He had my message. And I told God, I said, everything that Apostle knows, please teach me to know it. I also have a message to pass. I want people people are going through what I had gone through. I need to bring them healing. And then I said, no, let me relax. Let me calm down. Before I run with that foundation vision, let me learn and get my complete healing before I go out to pull anybody out again. I said, okay, so. And the healing is happening faster than I thought. I was
Praise
thinking it would
God.
take maybe 5 years,
Praise
4
God.
years, but in 6 months, the difference was very, very clear.
Praise God.
It was very, very clear.
Praise God.
Yeah. It was very
You know,
clear.
there's something God taught me, and maybe it's going to help people who are also watching us to itemize the things that brought you the most pain. Then you put them under 2 categories. One is what you have control over, and the second one is what you don't have control over. Number one, you don't have control over the kind of parent who gave birth to you. You can't choose.
Sure.
You don't have control over the kind of experience you had. Now, the things that you have no control over, choose to have no regret about them. Accept them as the part of life you've gone through for a greater purpose, some that you have found now, some that you will discover later, you know. And because most times the burden becomes weighty to the degree that we are clinging to the things that we have no control over.
Sure.
You know. And, you know, for people who are watching us now and have been asking themselves, and if there's anything, I think for me, this particular conversation is the most intense I've had on many grounds, because some men are probably watching this and now they can understand, okay, maybe this is what my wife is going through, or my fiancé, and maybe a woman now, you know, is watching this, and you can now understand, you know, the reason why that person is behaving the way the person is behaving. Or maybe you are the one who is also hurting and you can hear from our story and now you understand. Because one of the reasons why stories are important is that it gives perspective. Yeah. You look at yourself and you can now understand the reason why you are doing the things you're doing. No, you can be doing things and not even know why, you know. So for the sake of those who are watching us at this moment, if you are going to give a word of wisdom as touching how to heal, which you are experiencing now in fast pace. And I must say that what I'm seeing now, and compared to what I saw when I first met you, the difference is clear. You've come a long way.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited to see that. What will your advice be for those who need to heal?
Okay. There's something I didn't know before that made my anger intense and lingered, was that this is going to last forever. Now, I accepted the reality that this thing is going to continue. It won't stop. Then I said, this is me. This is how God created me. Please, that is not how God created you. Now, there is an end to it. In fact, 5 years ago, if you tell me I'll have the life that I have now, I'll say it's a lie. It's a complete lie. Now, there is a lie. See, the devil will also feed on your anger. Now, it will push you to the extreme. Now, the anger that comes from your trauma and your experience might be 50%. Now, the devil will give you thoughts in your head. The devil will speak to you when you're angry. He will push you. Go, do it, and be able to identify who is speaking to me. At that time, there were a lot of times that I knew that this is not the Spirit of God. To tell me, do this now, go, push. But you also have a willpower. There's something called the willpower. I had this so strongly later that when my healing started, he started telling me that, stop, don't do it. Stop, don't do it. When I listened to it, I became better. So you should always listen to that part of you that says, don't go ahead, don't proceed, hold on, wait, there is an end to it. If I can get to this point that I am, I don't care what it is you are going through. You can also get to the end of it. You can also get to the end. I'm a miracle. I know that I'm a miracle because I would have long been dead if I listened to the voices that played in my head. I would have long been dead. But in fact, Mercy said no. My will, the will to live, the will to teach, the will to also let people know that your experiences do not define you. It is what you make out of it.
This is, the devil is in trouble. The devil is in trouble. And for some reasons, when I'm hosting my guest, I try not to put out details about them so that they are not targeted for attacks or whatever the case may be. But I think, and I want to say this categorically, that God has given you a word for those who are hurting. And one of the things I look forward to is to see you express it beyond this platform, to give life. You know, the areas we have experienced death the most is also the area where life will flow from the most. You know, people listen to my teachings, and because I still have one more to go this year, which is titled Heal. So I still have one more series on that to go. All right, I plan to do that around my birthday as a gift to the body of Christ, because I couldn't finish them. Now, people listen, and I've seen testimonies, I've seen people break down in tears and say things like, oh God just sent this man to heal us. But what they don't understand is that the healing is coming from the area where I'd experienced the worst form of darkness. You know, like living through your life, I didn't have what I wanted to become in future because I felt there was no future. I felt I would have died. I was so certain that between this time and this time, I would have killed myself. Like, it was a normal conclusion. No glimpse. You understand what I'm saying? No glimpse of, this is who I'm going to marry. I was too certain I would have ended it all. You know, so from that same place, life is flowing. You have so much to offer. Too much. And I want to thank God for you and your journey. And also, I'd like to request for a part 2. And I think this is the first time we are doing that. I'd like to request for a part 2 because we have only touched a part. Yeah. So now we need to get into the family part. So we're going to be able to talk through. And then when you are ready for that, then we can also have that. Okay. And maybe by the time we're having that part 2, it's going to be on the other side. You and your, okay? Yeah. All right, wait for the gist later. I want to thank you so much.
Thank you so much
for making out your time. How do you feel sharing your story?
I feel relieved.
Wow.
Yes. It's like a burden in my heart has dropped.
Wow.
Even though the healing was happening, at the same time, I couldn't wait to share, to speak.
Wow.
Now I feel so relieved, like Praise a burden God. Has left my heart.
Praise God.
Now, preparing to get married was when I realized, vendors will ask you, what picture do you have in your head for your wedding? They would always ask. But I tell them, I don't have any picture because I have never envisaged that I wear a wedding dress. I have never, it has never crossed my head. Girls, they'll say, okay, see me walking down the aisle with my dad. Never. It has never crossed my mind before. So it was when I was now saying, okay, let me start having it in my head. I started planning. So he will say, okay, yeah, suited, you with your wedding dress. And I don't have the picture in my head. But until I got up, I said, no, I will get married. That day will happen. And it will come. And I'll also share it again.